Hello and welcome to the GamerRoos Podcast. Today is November 13th, 2023. My name is James Carrino and I'm joined today by Minh Tran. Say hello, Minh.
Hello.
And Alexandre.
Yes.
Yes. Is it one word like share?
It's basically
just
like a one word. It's not Alex and then Andres.
I don't know why you guys talking about names. My name's short as hell.
Yeah, yours is Min.
Yeah, you have like 8 letters.
It's
very
so,
economical.
It's so minimal. You know?
Yeah.
It's.
I must congratulate you for your economical usage on the ink on your birth certificate.
Is that how your minimum, right? Is that how you are in the bedroom?
What? Okay, anyways, forgive the thumping in the background. I think we're hosting the 137th annual Kentucky Downs in the 4th floor. So please just mind the thumping. And if a horse comes through the ceiling, we're going to have to cancel the episode.
Yeah, but that'll be like a whole different topic. Like, Red Dead Redemption shit just like happens.
Oh, yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2 won Game of the Year 5 years after it came out.
But anyways.
Okay.
Anyways, what are we talking about today, James?
So, quick thing to start off with. The GTA 6 trailer has been announced officially by Rockstar. No leaks, no nothing, no whatever. It's just going to be GTA 6 sometime in December.
Teenager that leaked it before.
Yeah, I actually really like the art for GTA 6. Like, it kind of has that synthwave kind of vibe to it. I really like that kind of like pop theme that it has going for it compared to like the other two GTA games, or by other two I mean like 5 and 4 essentially, where you kind of just had like a hardy theme that was like punk, gang. This one's kind of like taking it into like a different direction.
I mean, more to Vice City again.
It kind of represent the ages, I guess. It's just.
I'm looking forward to it. If it's basically just going to be GTA Vice City again.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. The only reason I'm looking forward to GTA is because, unironically, GTA games and most Rockstar games have had they're very well wrote for some reason.
Yeah,
I'll argue that they write characters well, but the actual plots are lacking.
I could make that argument for San Andreas, but I don't think I could make that argument for 5 or like Bully. Because like Bully's sorry, I should exempt Bully from that because I have not played Bully. Bully it's a Rockstar game. They wanted to make a sequel, but literally due to like GTA 5 and then 6, they canceled the sequel. But essentially, like, Bully's main plot is you are like a delinquent kid who gets thrown into like a whole other high school. They got expelled from his previous high school, and your mom's a drug addict and is dating some slobby, ugly, old, wrinkly man, and then you got to go to this school and be a bully. But the story, I think, it just has a really good pacing to it and a good ideology and sometimes a little bit of philosophy mixed in it.
You see, I haven't really played any GTA games. But I watch a few, and I think what they do good, right, is really immerse you in like that scenario, whatever you are, like whether you're one of the 3 characters in 5, I believe, or was it 4?
3 characters.
And then
4 with the online character, but that's
online.
We don't talk about that. Yeah. But anyways,
shark cards. Anybody? Shark cards.
But anyways, it's like you're just down and dirty in a, how you call it, unforgiving city.
Yeah, pretty much. Unforgiving city that you can like literally just walk to the gas station and get robbed.
Give no shit about anything else.
Yeah. Who gets robbed in GTA? Usually,
dude, I did. I just got out of a car, started walking down the street, and some male model with a female voice comes up to me and points a gun at me and starts like threatening me. And I'm like, what? And then I punch it, and then I get the police called on me. It was stupid.
Hey man, the refs only see the response, not the inciting incident.
Also, a funny story involving GTA 5. Back when I was in, I think it's 6th grade or 7th grade. I'm pretty sure it was 6th grade. I was going to invite a bunch of people to my grandma's house for my birthday party. And I invited one of my friends named Hunter at the time. I invite him to my birthday party. You know what he does? He asks me if he can bring his Xbox 360 to play GTA 5. And this guy, I kid you not, all summer literally just sat in his room and played GTA 5. I asked him, do you want to go to Six Flags? My grandma will pay. Not really. Like, you just want to sit in your house and play GTA 5 all summer? That's exactly what he did. He wouldn't even let me play the GTA 5. Like, if I ever went over to his house, the only thing he would play is GTA 5, and he would not let anyone touch it.
Yeah. excessive behaviors like that are just really, how do you call it, common for like gamers, really?
Yeah, like it was a game.
Oh, I mean,
I suffer from gamer syndrome.
Tell me outside of like hard drugs and like probably alcohol, but like, who would solely focus on like one thing and one thing alone and not let anyone touch it?
Hey, I really appreciate you inviting me over for your birthday party, but can I bring my Xbox 360 so I can play GTA 5 while I'm at your house on your birthday? Thanks. Like, bro.
I mean, I remember when I was growing up, like if I went to somebody else's house and I tried to play like GTA at their house or like Midnight Club or those other open world games at the time, I would usually get told like, oh, you can run around, you can do whatever, just don't progress the story. I go, well, I want to play a mission. I go, no,
I won't play a mission. I want to do it.
So all I did was just run around and
punch people, pretty much.
Yeah, I had this one thing that I did in GTA 5 where like I would stop in the middle of the road, I'd let a car like run up to me, and I'd punch the car, and like the driver and the passenger would get out to kick my ass, and I'd stun gun them, and I'd just steal their car.
And here I thought you're mainly a Call of Duty kind of person.
Well, I mean,
I never did personally understand the full appeal of GTA because like I've played it before, but like I've just never been able to like sit down and like play it for like a very extended period of time because to me like I get bored fast in terms of it.
I mean,
yeah, the mission structure can be repetitive, so I understand that.
But I like the story is the only thing I ever played it for, and then like when you get to like the post game is when the game's supposed to be fun. But for me, I get to the post game, I'm like, okay.
I mean, there's a reason. There's a reason why like a lot of videos nowadays have some kind of gameplay playing in the background. We can't keep our attention any longer.
Well, I don't know. It's the way like some people will play these GTA games, like GTA 5, like online. Like
I mean, like it's kind of like that's the only thing that they can get themselves to do, and they'll just stick to it.
But just like, bro,
I don't know.
Go play an RPG. Go play Final Fantasy. Like, play a game where there's like actual like progression other than go rob a bank for the 12th time, get a big house, get a car that you can customize. Like, I don't know. I just personally, I could not get behind it.
Maybe even finish a battle pass.
Yeah, you know what? I need to go play Fortnite.
Oh my God, there's gonna be a battle pass in GTA 6.
There probably is. No,
yeah.
I don't like that either.
Okay.
I mean, it's the big thing in the minds of all those game studios that want to make money.
All those little kids are like, I want to get the rocket launcher.
Speaking of battle passes, selling behaviors, Modern Warfare 3, the new one that just came out last week.
How did that go? I didn't get to see it yet.
Like a brick in a pool.
Come on.
Yeah, so basically, Modern Warfare 2 was already not received super well by the more long-time core audience by Call of Duty, which tends to prefer longer TTKs and quicker movement. I liked Modern Warfare 2 personally, as much as I like Modern Warfare 2019, but there's a lot of behind-the-scenes issues. If you remember from last season when we were discussing the immediate release of Modern Warfare 2 and afterwards, there was the rumor that there wasn't supposed to be a new game releasing in 2023. So the idea behind that was because they had to shutter a bunch of projects after the general failure of Vanguard and the middling success of Cold War.
And then they had the Microsoft...
and then the Microsoft buyout and a bunch of different restructuring things. There wasn't supposed to be a new Call of Duty game. But I think because the investors at Activision and Blizzard and all that were like, we still need something coming out. Activision was like, well, we already had the idea for a DLC pack for Modern Warfare 2 to bridge the gap. And then the investors are probably like, this is making us skittish. It's probably like, this is the first time since 2007. And so Activision was like, we'll just make it into a full game.
I thought it was like they're going to make Modern Warfare 2 a long-form kind of game. Where they're basically like what a lot of studios are doing is just making one hub world or like hub game, and they just add on to that game. That's
kind of what they wanted to do with this reboot series in general, but the problem is that like Activision tried to have their cake and eat it too, where they had these releases where they would try to update it, but then they still wanted the yearly release so they can get that cash injection and also keep their studios in work. But because of COVID and the general failures of Cold War and Vanguard, it basically threw the transmission from drive to reverse at 80 miles an hour down the freeway. And the new release that happened a week ago of Modern Warfare 3 is basically the evidence of that. Because the campaign's 4 hours long and it sucks. The multiplayer is supposed to be a Modern Warfare 3, but all the maps are either like remakes of Modern Warfare 2 maps or like a couple of, I think there's 1 or 2 from Modern Warfare 3. And Spec Ops is allegedly better. And yeah, but otherwise, it's not worth $70, which is the problem.
I think one thing that's really like affected me in terms of because I used to be a really big Call of Duty fan and like Battlefield fan in terms of the story, but like they really this is something that's like really started to happen, and you can kind of like tell that like by the late like 2010s, like we're looking like close to 2020. Writing took a massive nosedive in exchange for gameplay.
Military, like there's like that kind of military like kind of storytelling, and then there's Rainbow Six.
Well,
it's like borderline either fantastical or like it gets into the realm of like believable fiction, depending on like where you are on. Who's the author again? I forget his name.
I have no idea.
It's like in the name Tom Clancy. Yeah.
Oh,
it
yeah.
depends on where you are in Tom Clancy's life. Like, or his earlier works are okay. It's decent, and then you get into like.
Oh, I actually read Patriot Games this summer. It was pretty good. And
yeah.
Even when I read Teeth of the Tiger, which was towards the end of his life, that was the one that released quickly after 9/11. It was still good, but all the continuation novels thereafter are awful. So part of the problem with a lot of wartime games and military shooter games is by the end of the 2012s, it was basically a dead horse trope. Like you're thinking of all the World War II games from the 2000s, and then COD 4 shook everything up. It was the Halo killer, and everybody was trying to do that. And by 2013, it was pretty rote. That's why they went to sci-fi shooters. But part of the problem is that we also it has to do with real world geopolitics. So I'll keep it to a minimum. But the idea of transitioning from more wartime narratives and storylines where you're just one cog in a larger like army machine versus being a special operator, high speed, low drag type stuff. Which
it's also just how people view like the military.
I will say the biggest issue I've had in terms of military games is a lot of times it's hard to formulate this, but I'll try my best. Military games have this tendency to make either really well wrote characters that are like relatable in terms like you watch it and you're like,
or just like not fantastical but like valiant heroes.
Right. Or they have a tendency to just make like traumatized edgelords that are like, I've survived like all these wars and now I'm traumatized. Like, I think a lot of games started to kind of like, military games had that issue where it was either like, you actually had like a story that really built up to like the issues that soldiers suffer with in war, or you built up to this like, oh, I'm so edgy.
Very mess of a character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I think it even like military games really just started to die in terms of story like in the late 2010s, because that was just kind of where I think, as James said, like geopolitics gets involved, and then the topics kind of become more. And
then you start getting like a newer generation that haven't like seen or hear like these veteran stories, where like
a lot of us grew up with those veteran stories because a lot of our grandparents were just coming out of Vietnam.
Yeah, or even like you had somebody in the military in your family. Like you hear about this stuff, and like I think this past weekend or something was Veterans Day too, and like it's just a.
I don't think it's anything so broad as a disconnect between previous engagements that the United States military has pursued.
No, it's a disconnect in generation.
I mean, that's also a big part of it too. But if we're talking about the reason why it connects to military shooters just starting to suck, it does just have to do with the operator sort of thing, where you have to justify why they're so cool and why they can do all this cool stuff.
I think I have to agree with James on that. Because, like, I remember I don't know, because I grew up in, like, a rural country area. Everyone played, like, Call of Duty and stuff. And I remember how many people wanted to go into military solely because of how like Call of Duty and Battlefield would portray military soldiers, and then it's like you go in the military and wow, it's nothing like the game at all. It's like they painted like, oh, we're fighting for our country, the freedom, we're parachuting out of airplanes and shooting down the bad guys. But really, in reality, that's not like what military is. And most of the time, you're just sitting at a base twiddling your thumbs.
Pretty much,
it's peacetime, but I do think it, like, at least the stories, right?
It's our preordained peacetime. Get ready in like 5 years before something happens.
I mean, again,
was that a war?
We're going back to the sandbox.
I mean, again, like, in terms of story, I think it's just what we lived through, what are the general sentiments are.
Yeah. There's also the big caveat that even though COD 4 was based a lot on the Iraq War and the frustrations therein, Modern Warfare 2 was also basically just like, what happens if Russia invades the United States? And Modern Warfare 3 just went into fucking Crazyville. But that has to do with the development issues of that game.
And then Vanguard.
I have issues.
Who knows?
Yeah, 10 years later.
I have an issue with kind of to an extent with the way Call of Duty games are wrote, because I think they kind of do contribute to a bit of like a societal problem where we're like really overly demonizing like one side over the other, because but it's a very touchy subject, because like with the Iraq War, there's a lot more to that war than meets the eye. But the Iraq War is like why like Islamophobia picked up really high in the United States.
Everything just has a nuance, but like I guess it's where we want to focus and how we want to tell a story kind of impacts that. Like nowadays we kind of want to see like, okay, how did this event affect like the soldiers, how like the inhabitants, all that. We've grown towards like a they versus them.
We really have grown towards it like a they versus them situation. I think that is a problem.
Well, what I mean is like I'm talking about like in terms of the storytelling at then. I'm talking about like how we want to consume media now. Like we want to know like, okay, a little bit more or a little bit more nuance because of how observant our how do you call it, gamer like population or community is like right now, and it's really telling how perceptive we've become since then.
As somebody who's in the Persona community, quite literally, it's like basically you have like a popular Persona YouTuber be like, Persona 3 is great. Have you played the game though? No. But I watched the cutscenes on the internet. Okay, well that doesn't... You have not played the game to get the authority to say if it's good or bad or not.
How are we going from...
I'm
really sorry, guys, but how do we go from geopolitics to fucking Persona?
Well, I mean, I was going to kind of go into some other topics.
I know, we wanted to get to Persona 3.
But, well, I mean, there was something else I wanted to talk about in terms of shooter games, but...
just keep going. Just let the conversation flow.
What I was going to say is, I've noticed, especially with Persona games specifically, especially in the Western fan base, a lot of people say they're good games because they'll watch an analysis of the game, but they won't ever like make the opinion themselves. They form the opinion based on somebody else's already existing opinion.
Yeah, I've done that.
I used to, when I first played Persona 3, I thought it was single-handedly the best Persona game because I watched the ending to the game and the ending cutscene to the answer, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this game is so amazing. And then I played the game, and then I hear people complain that the answer is bad, so I'm like, okay, the answer must be bad. And then I played the game, and I'm like, wow, the story is a paced disaster that absolutely gives me no reason to care about half these characters. And the answer is genuinely the only good part about the game, which is different if you go to like the community. Everybody hates the answer and praises it to be the best Persona game.
Part of what you're discussing is the idea of just wanting to be a part of the conversation where even if two people are discussing Persona 3 and you haven't, but you've seen the cutscenes, you can be like, oh yeah, it's a good game. And you get that kind of echo chamber where everybody's saying the same thing. Not as bad as one as you usually get, but like just people reaffirming those like, oh yeah, it's good. Oh yeah, I heard it was good, so it must be good. And then
I think that that's like a bigger societal issues that we trust too much of other people's opinions. We don't really form any of that on our own. And I remember I did like a whole review on like in a Persona community of like why Persona 3 is not the best Persona game.
Oh hell, that's the entire thesis statement. That's one of the thesis statements behind MGS2, ironically.
Honestly, on the topic of Persona,
another game I haven't played.
On the same topic of Persona, right? Like, my favorite is Persona 4, not Golden, but Persona 4. OG, yeah.
With old Chie. Yukiko.
Yeah, but...
Don't ever do that on my podcast again. Oh my god.
He did it again. But, like, it's a good story in itself, like, without all the... I forget the Velvet Room kind of backstory thing.
Velvet Room.
But you get like this good cast of friends.
Sorry, I don't know. James just started like doing random hand.
Sorry, I was spinning a pen and it hit the keys and it probably picked up. My bad.
We don't care anymore.
Oh. And like I think, I don't know. It's for me, right? I love it when the story gets pronounced through gameplay, and Persona 3, I've made it a good way through it. I haven't finished it yet, but it's very tedious.
Tartarus, yeah. Everyone hates Tartarus.
But like
most people that wind up in hell have similar sentiments.
And it kind of got to the point where like, okay, I'm gonna see what cutscenes there are. I'm gonna see like what is the true end line, and okay, I like where it's going.
There is something to be said for highlighting when a game has a good story but does not have good gameplay to facilitate it.
I think you can take it a step further and say there's a time where you can highlight that a game has a good story idea with not a good execution.
That's another, yeah.
Like, that's why I really hope, and Atlas seems to have addressed the issues with original Persona 3, so, because Reloaded, which is hopefully going to be coming out, I think either in the next few months or it's going to be coming out next February. I think the date might be changing a little bit. But when Persona 3 Reloaded does come out, Atlas already like admitted that we're going to be making a lot of gameplay enhancements on the story because we realized there was issues. And funny enough, I pointed out in my own review for Persona 3, which I'm going to actually upload on my official YouTube channel, Like King. But I pointed out that they don't give you like any connections to any of the characters really in the story, relying more on social links, which are optional content that you can miss. I did miss, other than Aegis, which, since you're going to be getting there at some point, when you get to the end of the game and Aegis' social link is available, do it. Do it at every cost. Get an Aeon Persona so you can get Arcana bonus. Do it, because it's...
Yeah, my goal right now is to just get all the Arcana and get the true end right now. So
you don't have to get all the Arcanas to get the true ending, but Aegis, it's just don't pick kill Ryoji when the time comes. Trust me. I won't spoil why that's an option, but you'll figure it out.
I'll make sure to kill Ryoji.
You know what? If you want the worst bad ending in history that has like no justification to it whatsoever, it just exists as an option you can pick, be my guest.
No, that's basically the master ending from Fallout 1. You show up to the master's place and he's like, you should join me. And you're like, man, I just slaughtered like your entire army, but you make a valid point.
Okay, can we actually just take a second to talk about like bad endings in games that just solely exist because you can, not because there's any plot reason you'd pick that? Like, I'll talk about Persona 3 in this case. I'm not going to spoil too much, but and there's a final option in Persona 3 where you can kill a character and let everybody live in a delusion that the world's not going to end, or you can spare him and everyone's going to have to face death itself. I won't spoil anything else really about it, but
actually, wait. Is death completely unavoidable in this situation? Like, is it going to happen?
It's going to happen.
Well, fuck it, give people the illusion.
Also,
there's a reason that it'll kind of.
There's story reasons.
Also, stories I don't want to explain too much.
Also, don't worry. I already spoiled it for myself because I'm like actually trying to achieve it.
I'm never going to play the game.
I just want to specify so other people don't get spoiled, because Reloaded is coming out and I don't want people to be. I don't know if they'll change anything about this in the new game.
Do I have to put minor Persona spoilers at the beginning of this video?
Yes,
maybe.
Just really minor Persona 3 Reloaded spoilers.
Okay.
But from what has been said, there has been some changes to. There's been added like character scenes, added arcanas, and there's no major updates to the story. It's only building the in-betweens.
That's what they really needed to do, though.
Yeah.
Because, like, the game had, like...
Nothing in...
Like, you had no attachment to any character in the game. There was no, like, story required, like...
And a lot of those, like, arcana encounters was random.
Yeah, like, sometimes you could just flat out miss a whole social link if you didn't talk to somebody on a specific day. But in terms of, like, the bad ending situation, though, with Persona 3, the reason I don't like the bad ending of the game, and this is kind of like something I want to dive more into because bad endings have no justification. Like, in the game, there's this option that's just like, kill Ryoji or spare him. And no one, I repeat, no one in your group wants to kill Ryoji. In fact, they dive into why that's a bad idea. The game tells you, flat out, don't do it. There's no reason. It's a horrible idea. And then you just get the option to do it anyways. It's like, it's one thing if you make like a moral, like Persona 4 has like 3 bad endings you can get, and you can activate them all on accident, like solely because like in one specific scene a really important character dies and your emotion is getting like ahead of you, and you possibly have the person who did it, so you have like an option to make them suffer for all that they've done. Well, in that scene, you might be very heavily emotional. The game kind of warns you, like, is this really a good idea? Is this really what we should be doing? And other characters would be like, I feel like there might be more to this, but, like, if you let your emotions get ahead of you, you're like, no, screw this guy, which can't happen. You can just, like, flat out get the bad ending. And you can get it 3 total times in the game. Because just how many times you can, like, just screw up.
I'm going to speedrun Persona 3 now. I'm calling it Fuck Up Percent.
I mean, like... Have fun speedrunning that.
Also, unironically, I was watching, slightly off topic, I was watching somebody do a low-level run through Persona 3, where you just like fight all the enemies at a very low level. It is impossible to do the final boss at any level that isn't over 70.
Oh, really?
Or under 70. You cannot beat the boss if you are under level 70. Like, that's the lowest somebody managed to do it, and it was on portable, when you can make like personas with like mega overpowered like fusions. But I think 80 and 90 were like the highest I could see somebody do it on OG Persona 3. But do you guys have any other like experiences in terms of just games with like no justified reasons of bad endings?
Let's see. At the end of Dragon Quest 1, that's kind of the famous example in ancient gaming history, I guess, where you get to the very end and the Dragon Lord's just like, hey, you want to be my right-hand man? And you're like, sure, boss. And what's interesting is that in that game, it just cuts to black. Like, you have to reset the console and everything like that. And in modern re-releases, it'll just send you back to the last inn that you stayed at.
What the heck?
But what's interesting is that Dragon Quest Builders 1 actually builds off of that ending, and you eventually fight Erdrick. Wait. It was a descendant of Erdrick. Excuse me. That did take the Dragon Lord's offer, but he basically got screwed in the deal because apparently making deals with like evil people is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Crazy. And now that's the most controversial part of this episode. Holy cow.
Oh, I think it was at Arkham Knight. It was when you could play as like Cat Lady. I'm not sure which.
Oh, no, you're thinking of Arkham City, where you can just walk out as...
Yeah, you could just walk out as Catgirl or Catwoman.
Catwoman, yeah.
Catwoman.
If you try, you'll just go back. Like, it literally like makes you walk back to the beginning. It's like, no, you can't pick this option.
Oh, that's right, yeah. It just tells you...
You can't walk out, like, flat out. You can...
Yeah,
you cannot...
Catwoman just kind of stands there and goes like, I can't leave Bruce. I think I could have sworn that like it did actually end your game, but it only sent you back like a minute or something, and you just had to redo a combat encounter. But I think you're right.
What it did, because I remember, it would like show her walking out with like the bag, and then like it would start to kind of look like it was going to roll the credits, and then like it would just reverse itself back to when she was standing there. I think somebody's theory was that it's not her actually doing it, but it's all in her head of what it would look like if she did.
That's kind of neat, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a theory. It's more like, it's just kind of there.
The
like,
level of restraint I just had in that 5 seconds. Oh my god.
What?
It's just a theory, but...
A game theory. Or you have like a case like Five Nights at Freddy's 3, where if you somehow didn't know the right combination to enter on the freaking wall, you don't unlock a specific minigame and you can't set the souls free.
Okay, to be fair, for Five Nights at Freddy's, that was in the part of the series where, like, I think the story speculation was at its highest, it wasn't like where it was set in stone after Five Nights at Freddy's 4 in World, where it was, you kind of knew all the major players, and it was really more a matter of like shuffling them around, because there was the books and there was Ultimate Custom Night and Sister Location, whatever. But it really in 3 where everything was still on the table, so it was still reasonable at that point to do completely bonkers stuff. Because I think Five Nights at Freddy's 2, like all of the major stuff got found out inside of a week, even discounting what was it? Data mining and stuff like that. But that's, I think that there are, yeah. So
you can get the bad ending in a Street Fighter game if you just lose or play as Bison. I love that.
Well, okay, that's we're getting into different categories where it's just a bad ending because it's funny. Or it just kind of makes sense given the choices you did.
Going off like bad end that because it's funny, right? Is in Nier Automata.
1,800-pound waifu. I remember.
You in your power up menu, basically a power up menu. You have an OS chip. You're an Android. What do you
Makes
think?
sense.
What do you think will happen if you remove the OS chip?
I've uninstalled Apple products from my.
Yeah, it's a joke ending. It will roll credits.
Dude,
you know what? That's funny though.
There's an ending in there's a joke ending in Persona 4 where if you, this is in Gold in the PC release, if you go into the settings menu before the game starts and disable shadows, you might genuinely think that was just like an option choice, like, oh, just get rid of like shadows in terms of the texture. No, if you disable shadows, the entire game will end and it'll be the bad ending. Yeah, you just get the bad ending. That you start the game with no shadows enabled.
I mean, that's funny, but like, what if you need to optimize your PC's performance and you want to disable?
That fucking.
I'm sorry if you're playing on like PlayStation 2. And
I'm playing on.
I'm
playing on my certified McToaster.
If your PC can't run a quite literal ported PlayStation 2 game, you might genuinely need to just throw the computer. You have to be playing on like pure MacBook.
I had a Toshiba that I got in elementary school for like. It was the biggest piece of crap I think I've ever owned. Like, I owned that for like a year, and it suffered from such bad slowdown problems. I could see that. Like, it struggled to run like Half-Life.
I mean,
you'll never. I used to stream League of Legends back in like the good old days, and I was trying to. I know, it was gross. I was trying to stream through my like old Dell laptop. And I remember I had like my Twitch channel on my phone, and somebody said, "Dude, this is like watching a PowerPoint presentation."
Hey, you're giving too much credit to League there. I know I'm an addict, but I know when a PowerPoint presentation is so much better.
Dude, no, it was worse. 'Cause, like, you think it sucks streaming it. Imagine trying to play this shit. I remember looking at my FPS, it was dead ass F5. And he switched to 5 to 0.5.
Oh, God.
It was so hilarious just watching, like, this screen just, like, stop, the computer beep 3 times.
Error.
And then like the computers start getting hot before it like loads, and it's just like, you have been slain.
Please put me out of commission.
I always hate when the computer like passively aggressive beeps 3 times. Like, I can't run this. Stop. And then there was this one old laptop I had. It was an ad laptop, so like people used it to run a lot of adware. Because it was used for credit cards. Yeah. So I factory reset it, uninstalled a bunch of shit, and tried to use it as a gaming laptop. Oh, that was the worst idea ever. It physically could not run League of Legends at anything more than 5 frames.
Wait. Something actually couldn't run.
How do you go from a 5-frame laptop to a 5-frame laptop?
When somebody can run League of Legends on a fucking toaster. Actually.
My computer physically could not run League of Legends at anything more than 5 frames per
Holy
second.
shit.
I could not play a live game. I could only play bot games. I tried playing one live game with a friend of mine. It was so bad. I load into the game. I click to go to lane. I disconnect because the computer was struggling to run League so badly it had to close the program because it could not run it at any circumstances. It could physically only do bot games. And, the problem is I was playing Karma, and it was
you deserve that. I'm not gonna lie.
I did try to run Watch Dogs on it just for shits and giggles.
Did I do
And,
that?
No,
and then the computer giggled and shit.
The computer actually reset itself. I'm not joking. It reset itself. It did factory reset, but I would load up Watch Dogs just for I was like, okay, I wouldn't know how bad this computer will run it. Load up Watch Dogs, the computer would just stop at the very start.
User. You have abused me enough.
It would load not responding, and I would try to click off of it. The mouse would freeze.
Hasta la vista.
And the computer would just load the shutting down, and then eventually it would or it would crash and just pop up your P, and then it would just the sad face. I can't run this. I'm sorry. I need to reset. They couldn't even run YouTube.
Oh,
I was trying.
Really?
I tried to run YouTube on it, and it would stop in the middle of a YouTube video if there was more than one picture on the screen at a
Here
time.
on laptop nightmares.
Oh my god! Just you talking about that reminded me of one of my favorite clips on the internet, where it's this one soda machine. So the new ones, those new Pepsi machines, how it'll load into that one carriage and it'll drop into the one slot and it circles around and it gives it to you. Some guy tried to order a Pepsi. It would try to go up to it, but the entire thing was out of sync. So it I'll leave a link in the description because I can't describe it. But the entire machine just freaked the fuck out, and
it starts rapidly smashing the Pepsi bottle,
or it would go into the wall and just and eventually it kind of got it in, and it tried to drop it into slot, but it only got halfway, and then the carriage went up, and the bottle fucking explodes.
Oh my god!
This is why machines will never hold.
This reminds me when I was playing Fallout 4 on my GTX 745 back in high school.
Oh gosh!
Where the recommended was a 790, so I didn't know about resolution bumping for the longest time because I was really new to PC gaming. Mm-hmm. So I could have saved myself so much trouble if I had swapped from a 1920 a 1080 to a 720 resolution, but I didn't know that until 2018. So I cratered the settings on that, and if it was in the really rural areas and nothing was going on, I would be lucky if I got 50 frames. And then I took it to Boston, and the fucking thing would start revving up.
The computer is in danger if it is revving its engines trying to...
See, what happened though, but I got really into the Fallout 4 modding scene. Okay. So I remember this one time, I was in a battle in Lexington, where it was me and my unlimited party, where I had every follower in Fallout 4. And we were fighting against the Raiders there. And for some reason, synths spawned in. I don't know, the Legionary hit squad, but for synths. And then, a gunner squad happened to be roaming and also entered the same block that everybody was fighting for. So my computer was struggling, fighting for its life at 2 frames a second as this 4-way clusterfuck on par with Stalingrad was going on. And then my fucking motherboard popped. And the computer fucking died!
Talk about a way to go out,
Bro, at least you beat the final boss. I tried doing that with Skyrim with the multiple party system, and you could just recruit everybody. Oh my gosh. I remember I recruited all of Whiterun, everybody in the city, and I would start giving them a bunch of different... I would start giving them armor I found on the way. I'd recruited a random werewolf I met. There was just one dragon I snuck up on, recruited him too. Recruited a cow, recruited the dog, recruited all of the children. And I started just doing... I was is it possible to beat Skyrim if everyone's your party member? remember at one point I fast traveled to some location, and all of a sudden I look up in the corner and it's like, your party member has died. Your party member has died. I'm like, what is happening? And then I slightly walk forward and notice that half of my party spawned in the air and was just falling down constantly. And most of the Light Run guards were all dead. And I'm just like, well, you contributed your service, and now it's time for me to give
mass burials.
All of your armor.
Jesus Christ!
It's time for me to give all of your armor to Greta the Nice. Go, Greta! You kicked their ass with that fucking longsword I gave you. Yeah, she ain't letting old age get her down.
Okay, all right. To round out this episode,
Run away all the way. Greta the Kind's coming. She's gonna make you a pie with destruction.
Okay.
That one butter she found somewhere in a chest.
Okay. I'm sorry, gentlemen, but we're getting to 55 minutes of recording, and you got to give me some leeway on the editing.
I guess.
All right.
We had some good times.
I called everybody a dipshit. It was fun. Anyways, thank you for listening to the GamerRoos Podcast. We deeply enjoy your viewership and listenership and everything that you decide to do with us. Oh, sorry. For our requisite sports update, the Rangers won the World Series, which was really nice, and Travis Kelce is banging Taylor Swift in Argentina right now.
That is
so,
disgusting.
go Kelce. All right. Thank you.
Have a good day.